Hello guys, it's me, Basement Kid, back again. I just hit 500 subs, which is huge, so thanks a lot for that. I didn't really want to start on a big, huge project, because I knew that would take forever, so I just want to make something smaller for you. But I didn't really know what to do, so I figured that I would just give some thoughts quickly here on some more major releases I've seen from this year. So there's no real rhyme or reason or methodology to why I picked the movies I'm going to talk about in this video. They certainly aren't my most loved movies of the year, and they're not the biggest movies of the year, certainly. So they're just random movies that I thought would be interesting to talk about and give my thoughts on. So, without further ado, I'm gonna just get right into it. Mickey 17 was a movie that I saw a lot of hype for before it was released. A lot of that no doubt had to do with Bong Joon-ho, the director of this film, and his previous movie Parasite. And now I'm a massive fan of Parasite and his work in general, but honestly, I never bought into the hype. It's not that I wasn't excited for the movie, I was, and I went to go see it pretty soon after it opened. To me, it seemed like it would be more in line with his other English language work. Sort of heavy-handed, sort of over-the-top, and very goofy. And I thought that because, well, it seemed to have pretty similar themes and ideas to those movies. And wouldn't you know it, it did. And it was very similar to those films. Now, I don't dislike Mickey 17, actually, I quite enjoyed it. Robert Pattinson, I think, gives a very fun performance. He really shows off his range for playing two characters that are somehow both clearly the same person while also being polar opposites. The direction was solid too. I mean, that's to be expected from any film made by Bong Joon-ho. The plot of the film very much follows his Snowpiercer Okja style of story. It's very on the nose, and it's also an environmental, eco-political message told through a pretty goofy and satirical lens. I don't hate the writing here, but I do think it's a bit much at points, and it kind of prevents me from getting fully invested in the character stuff. There is a love triangle, quadrilateral, which really does nothing for me at all. It does lead to Elliott Smith needle drop, though, which is sick as hell, so Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette are the villains of this movie, and they're pretty fun. I like how they commit totally to the goofiness. It's a lesser Bong Joon-ho, but it's still pretty good, I think. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I know people love this movie, and I'm really happy. I really am. But it just doesn't really hit for me as much as I would like it to. It's not even that I didn't like Sinners. I did like Sinners. The direction was fantastic, and so was the acting. It was a huge year for actors playing two characters in the same movie. Evidently, and Michael B. Jordan does do a great job playing these two twins very well. They do manage to feel very distinct. In the third act, at least, it becomes an ensemble piece, and the ensemble's all pretty great. The center of this movie is really about the world it takes place in, the South, and I think 1930s. It's a really great world, a really well-developed world. You really get fully invested in it, and it does feel fully realized by the end. I guess my issue with this film, my biggest issue, I guess, is just how stuffed this movie is. Just so many things get thrown into this movie, and a lot of them get lost in the shuffle, I think. Stuff that I was actually really interested in, seeing how it paid off, kind of just got thrown to the wayside, or underdeveloped. A certain scene felt kind of tacked on at the end and sort of pointless, like it was just kind of shoved in there to really shove your face in the themes, one of the specific themes of this movie, even though it was covered way better earlier on in a much more subtle and more interesting way. I really do appreciate a lot about this movie. I like how it reinvents vampire folklore. It really ties together so many different cultures, especially in the period we live in right now, this time of extreme division between people. The musical qualities of this film is great too. I like the historical elements present, and I like how it's a truly original story that actually did really well at the box office. So, people are loving this movie. Everyone's loving this movie, and that makes me happy, even if I don't get a whole lot out of it myself. I still did like the movie, but I don't love it. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I don't talk enough about my love for horror on this channel. Maybe I'll do that one day, but for now, this will have to do. Final Destination, it's a series that I like in theory, but it never really fully paid off for me in practice. The idea behind them is really cool fundamentally, but it always ended up being pretty lame or half-assed even in the execution. The exception of that rule being Final Destination 2, which I really do like, and now Final Destination Bloodlines, which I like even more. It's far and away my favorite of the series. Simultaneously, it manages to both be what the original films were and hold on to the things that were so important to those films and made them so interesting and compelling, while still reinventing the wheel and giving a new burst of life and energy and a breath of fresh air to this franchise, which kind of felt dead in the water by the time the 5th installment rolled around. This is the 6th installment of this franchise, by the way, and it does do some new interesting stuff, like bringing in a family aspect to the film, which is super compelling narratively, and tying into the lore in a way that kind of pays off a lot of what the series has setting up the whole time. Despite the fact this movie didn't really need to do any of that, it could have gone the way of so many other uninteresting, lazy, and frankly sloppy horror requels, but it didn't, and I really like that it didn't do that. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Looking back is one of the nastiest, cruelest, meanest, and honestly despicable horror movies I've seen in years. It's twisted beyond belief, but honestly it's one of my favorite movies of the year. This movie comes from a filmmaking duo from Australia who brought us Talk to Me a couple years back. And I really did like that movie. It was a really great little horror film, and I do think this film is a lot better than that movie, actually, and it kind of one-ups everything about that film. Some of the most brutal sequences I've ever had the displeasure of viewing on the big screen, and the villain of this film is played by Sally Hawkins, which is kind of the last thing I expected Sally Hawkins to do from a career standpoint, play the villain of a horror film, but god damn, she pulls it off, with flying colors, honestly. The manic energy that she brings to a lot of her roles is super present here, and it translates really well to a character like this. She's downright evil in every sense of the word, but somehow we do kind of come to understand her in a certain way. She is injected with a lot of humanity here. You know, the themes and ideas of this movie, not out of the ordinary for horror, especially modern horror, and I could see an argument that this is a little bit too derivative of some other movies like this. But I do think it has a lot of substance to it, more so than some other movies that also try to do a similar thing. And I really am a sucker for movies like this, so it's kind of a no-brainer why I like this. All in all, I really adore this movie, despite how fucked up it is, or maybe because of it. 9 out of 10. Shortly after the Wes Anderson video I did, I went to watch his newest film, The Phoenician Scheme. It didn't blow me away like his previous outing, but I did quite enjoy it. I like the family story at the center. It's a common theme amongst Wes's work, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These characters go on this wacky journey, and they meet some goofy characters along the way, who are all played by A-listers, of course. Everyone gives a great performance, you know, to be expected. It's a Wes Anderson movie. The vibes and the aesthetics are very quintessentially Wes, and do go into that hyper-exaggerated territory that he's kind of known for doing at this point. Not everyone likes that stuff, and I understand why, but I do. It's my thing, and I get a lot out of it because of it. Won't work for everyone, but they work for me. So, 8 out of 10. Celine's Song followed up her 2023 critical smash hit Past Lives with a seemingly generic rom-com. This is what it seemed like on the surface given the marketing, but that's not what this was at all. I don't know why they screwed this movie over with the marketing so bad. I guess A24 just hates Celine's Song. I guess they're her op or something, but this movie is super interesting, way more interesting than the marketing gave it credit for. It's not a great movie, certainly, but it's still pretty good. I still really liked it. It's more of a romantic drama in the vein of Past Lives. Wow, who could have guessed? A lot of people think this isn't even close to the quality of that film, but I never got on board with the hype train of Past Lives. I thought it was pretty good, and I think this movie pretty good as well. It's nothing groundbreaking. It does what plenty of other films do. Thematically, it's pretty standard, but the chemistry this cast has with each other is pretty great, and the screenplay does cover the themes and ideas of materialism and the transactional nature of relationships in a really intriguing way, I think. Honestly, I find this to be a perfectly good successor to Past Lives, and I'm interested in seeing what Celine's Song does next. Her movies don't hit so hard for me like they do for some other people, but still, I like them, and I like this movie. So, 7 out of 10. I'm a big fan of the original 28 Days Later. It's one of my favorite zombie films, so when I heard that the original writing duo was returning for this movie, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, I was hopeful that they would cook up something more than generic legacy sequel slop, and they did. Less of a sequel, more of an unrelated story that takes place in the same world. That's the approach I was hoping they would go for, and I'm glad they did go that route. It fleshes out the world in such an interesting way. This idea of a completely self-contained microcosm of a post-apocalypse is something that's intrigued me. for a while. This movie is a coming-of-age story, strangely enough, but it actually works. It's about a boy coming of age and learning to exist on his own in a hostile environment. Makes a lot of sense if you think about it, and it's a theme that's been explored throughout all of cinema that's just taken to its extreme here. The relationship between this young boy and the people around him is what's at the center of this film. It's the core emotional element, and boy, this movie is emotional. Very emotional. The zombies in the film are great too, just as threatening as they were 20 years ago, perhaps more now. 9 out of 10. This newest outing from Ari Aster at Eddington has proven to be quite divisive and controversial, to say the least. That isn't all that surprising given the subject matter as well as the filmmaker it comes from. Aster has never been one for easily digestible films, and after his sharp turn away from straightforward psychological horror affairs into, well, whatever he's doing now, that has been all the more true. The film stars Joaquin Phoenix, who's become a muse, I guess, for Aster in recent years. He plays like this really awful, just atrocious man. Really everyone in this film are varying shades of shit, which leads to an intentionally miserable watching experience, as is a signature of Aster's films. Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Austin Butler, the list really goes on and on with the actors in this film, and every one of them does a fantastic job, don't get me wrong. I would be lying if I said some of them didn't get a little bit lost in the shuffle by the end, but the movie's juggling so much, I think that's to be expected, and it doesn't, anger me at all by the end. This film could have been a huge swing and a miss, and for some it likely is, but for me it sticks to landing pretty well. It's not perfect, certainly, but I do think it's kind of an ingenious, absurdist satirization of this time period that really takes everything to its most extreme point. It's absolutely emblematic of the culture we're in right now, and I think it'll continue to be pretty relevant as the years go on. It's not only a look back at what went wrong, but also a reflection at what's going so wrong right now, and how those two things are undoubtedly correlated. It's really interesting, and I do think it might be doing a bit too much at points. It's kind of all over the place, but it does really stick to landing, and I think that's the most important part of a movie like this, is the ending, and it's a super poignant ending. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. This movie is by far my biggest surprise of the year. I usually hate superhero movies. It's really remarkable how much I got invested in this film emotionally, and how much I really cared about every single character in it and the world that it built, despite how heavily it panders to the market of superhero fans, which I am certainly not a part of. It's a movie I think everyone will be able to get a lot out of, even if you're not the demographic. To get a lot out of a movie like this, it's about a main character who sees the good in people. He truly does, and he wants nothing more than to help people and to free people from the forces that oppress them. It's about him going up against society and culture, a culture that is completely self-centered and materialistic. The lead here is played pretty fantastically by David Cornsweet, who pretty much looks the part, but he also embodies the spirit of Superman. There's a lot going on in this movie, and I was afraid it might feel overstuffed with how much it seemed to be promising, but honestly, I think it balanced all of its ideas pretty well. I appreciate how it incorporated a lot of the characters I'm unfamiliar with, instead of just rehashing the same old people. I'm looking forward to what's in store for this seemingly new era of superhero movies coming from Warner Brothers, and it seems like the rest of the world is too. So yeah, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Alrighty, this one just came out, and I literally just got back from watching it, so sorry if my thoughts are a bit scatterbrained. This is a new horror film from Zach Krager, who made Barbarian a couple years back. I thought that movie was pretty overrated, pretty mid, but this one looked pretty promising. Sadly though, I think it collapses a bit under the weight of that promise. The setup is really great. I think it's a super tense movie early on. It's really effective too, and even a bit scary at times. The world that this film sets up is pretty big in scale. Throughout the movie it switches perspectives and jumps around in time, and this could be the reason why I thought it didn't really work, but honestly I thought it pulled this off incredibly well, which surprised me, and it really got me excited for what was going to come, what the movie was setting up with all of this insane stuff, but ultimately the reveal of this movie was really lame and pretty stupid. The final act of this movie has the movie just play its hand entirely and show exactly what's going on. What's going on is one of the lamest and dullest reveals since probably Longlegs, which was another movie. I thought it suffered kind of the same thing. It has a great setup. It really is building to something great, and then it just crashes so hard. This definitely has a lot higher highs than Barbarian, just like by the very nature of what this film is going for. It ultimately falls into a lot of the same pitfalls that movie does. People love Barbarian, people are gonna love this. Maybe it's just not my thing. I just can't give it a higher rating than 6 out of 10. I'm also going to talk about some upcoming movies I'm excited for, because there's some coming out that I think I'm going to like. And maybe, you want some recommendations. So I'm just going to quickly shout out a bunch. One Battle After Another, Begonia, Alpha, Left-Handed Girl, Nirvana the Band, the show, the movie, No Other Choice, Jay Kelly, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, Smashing Machine, Marty Supreme, Die My Love, Frankenstein, The Mastermind, After the Hunt, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Resurrection, It Was Just an Accident, The Long Walk, Him, Rental Family, History of Sound, Honey Don't, The Testament of Anne Lee, The Roses, Sound of Falling, Blue Moon, Nova Vogue, Keeper, Caught Stealing, Highest to Lowest, Train Dreams, A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, The Secret Agent, Preparation for the Next Life, Shelby Oaks, also Mother Mary, but I'm starting to think that movie's never gonna come out. Anyways, that's it for the video. I hope you liked it. If you want to see my thoughts on some of those movies that are gonna come out, they might be on letterboxd.com by the time you watch this video. Thank you again for 500 subs. Crazy. I hope to have more videos out soon. Don't hold your breath though, but I do got some ideas in my noggin, so maybe I'll execute those. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, morning, or night. See ya.